Develop a fortune state of mind. Time for a date with. Time for a date with. A date with the Dorseys.
Hello, and welcome to yet another date with the Dorseys. I am Dr. Jatan and
Floyd Dorsey.
the fourth.
That's it.
And together we make Dim Darn Dorseys. Dim Darn Dorseys.
One more time, Floyd.
I said Dim Darn Dorseys.
Right. What an opening.
An opening it is. So we are back with yet another amazing episode just for you. You may be asking, who is you? Whoever's listening. And if it's your first time listening, I must get you acquainted with us and what we do and how we roll here on Date with the Dorseys. We talk about developing a fortune state of mind, and through that, there are 5 pillars that we leverage in doing so. And those 5 pillars are called the 5 F's. They include faith, family, fitness, finance, and fun. I was about to say, I think I'm here by myself, y'all. Nevertheless, we encourage, we teach, we do all of that. We help you develop that fortune state of mind. And again, when you think about fortune, you think about money right away. And though, as I mentioned, one of the 5 F's is finance, it's not just simply built on that one F. It's a culmination of all of those, which is reflective of our podcast. So you may get a culmination of all 5, or you may get a mixture of 2. You just never know what you're gonna get. But just know that it's not all about dating and relationships. So we mix it up here.
We mix it up and we keep on mixing. So it's a great time. We certainly love for you to stay plugged in. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media handles. Mm-hmm. Again, this is the Date with the Dorsey. Although this is not a dating podcast, we do touch on those specific topics because certainly there are an important part of the 5 F's that we just covered. Yes. So we're excited today and every day.
And we must throw in that those 5 pillars are not just something that we just threw together for the podcast. Listen, these are things that we actually live by in our own lives together. So we wouldn't ask you to do something that we won't do or hadn't already done. Would you agree, Mr.
I agree.
Okay.
That we don't already do, haven't done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So
we live it.
We live it. We breathe it.
We are it.
We are it. This is how we be. So we wanted to share this and everything that we talk about with you all just for the sake of helping you develop that fortune state of mind. And remember, fortune, this is a unique fortune, right? It's IVTUNE. And that's why we have to give you that twist on what we really mean by fortune state of mind. So with all that being said, my husband has already told you to follow us. So email us, follow us, and all that good stuff. But we're going to jump right into this topic, and I'll give you the details on where to find us later, right? So that gives you a reason to stick around. Nevertheless, today's topic is mastering me.
Master meat, right?
Oh, okay.
You say master meat?
No.
Mastering me. Like myself, Floyd.
Me, myself, and I. And Beyonce's, song like that.
Me, myself, and I. That's De La Soul.
Well, it was her more recently then.
Okay. All right, we'll go, go with it. She always finds an amazing way to take everything back to Beyonce. So I just
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah. So
one of the two.
Just roll with it.
Yeah. So mastering me is the topic for today, and I'm truly excited to get into this one because, the world has changed, is changing, and this is actually a good time if you hadn't already taken on the task of mastering yourself. This is definitely a good time to do so. But, when we talk about mastering me, it's truly the essence of getting to know yourself better so that you can do and be better, right? And that's really the summation of what we're going to be talking about if you wanted to just hear that little plug and then drop. But I know you want to stick around and listen to all the details because we love to unpack and give you a lot more. So with that being said, I want to start off with the statement that when you master yourself, no one else can enslave you. And that's truly what's driving this discussion today, because there are so many, like I just mentioned, so many changes in the world, right? That could easily deter you, easily drive you away, easily cause depression, stress, anxiety, easily do all of these different things. But if you master yourself, no one else or nothing else can enslave you. And so we're going to get into what does it truly mean to master yourself, or even how can I master myself? Like, hey, dear Dorseys, what are you really saying?
Let's unpack it.
Right. What are you really saying? So I have, we have 3 points that we want to make here today. And of course, we love to elaborate, so you're going to get a lot of juice on each one. But the first thing is, when you are tackling the task of mastering yourself, it's important to be introspective. And a lot of us are challenged with even doing that one thing. It sounds easy. We can easily say, oh yeah, I know myself, and I understand myself. I understand why I do this or why I think this way. But in actuality, many of us do not. And in order to master yourself, it starts within, with you digging within yourself to figure out exactly how you tick. And oftentimes we take for granted the fact that we just know ourselves because we are ourselves.
That's it.
Yeah.
I take the position that if you take a step back and really do an inventory of what are the components that you use to define your identity. For example, most men, you will hear them say, I am a provider, I am a protector, I am, financially fit or physically fit, or, some of these different descriptors that we use to really build ourselves up in our own mind, right? In our own way. And these are the pieces that we compile, and we put this inventory of identity labels together, and then that begins to take form and shape to this person that we say that we are. I'm God-fearing, all these different things. And so the question is understanding what pieces are in that puzzle that makes you, right? And this really takes some time, I think, as you said earlier, to be very introspective, because you have to understand what are the pieces that makes you. Now, some of these pieces that you've started to take on or identify as part of yourself, you may have gotten them from childhood, you may have gotten them from your friends, you may have gotten them just from college, wherever you are in life, right? You're surrounding, the people you surround yourself with tends to either give you or lend you their thoughts on your identity, and you may embrace it and make it your own, or they may qualify or certify the things that you already thought yourself. But one of the most important parts of this is knowing and understanding what are those pieces that makes me, right? And so once you understand those pieces, now it's time to really start to look into those pieces, and maybe perhaps even consider pressure testing them to say, if this piece is removed, am I still who I am, right? Am I building my identity on some superficial or the superficial facade, right? Is that me? Or the things that I define as myself, are they truly the substance and core and something that's worth building on? And so as we unpack it, those are the dynamics that I think that should come into play as you think about the you that you are, right? Because you can't master you unless you know you. So that would be my initial position, and coming in just thinking through it, because you certainly have to know the pieces that are within that puzzle.
Right. And for a tactical approach, you can think of it as a Venn diagram. And if you're not familiar with that, it's 3 circles that have a center that overlaps, right? And if you think about those main circles being parts of you, whether it be your future, whether it be your skills or your passions, and then you see where all of those things intersect in the center, and back to what you said, husband, the core of you, you can identify some of those things that cross, right? Some of those things that tick and tie together that could possibly tell you, oh, these are things that are a common thread within these different aspects of my life. So it must be a true core of me. Let me dig deeper. If you're the type of person that needs something, tactical to do to really get you to a place of identifying specifics, right?
I think that certainly is a great exercise to take and start doing some form of inventory, right? The Venn diagram approach, making a list and then start to categorize those lists, right? So one is maybe your way of thinking. Maybe you can make a list of how you just think about yourself, or your perspective, or your hobbies, the things you like to do for fun. How do you choose to make income, and what are the things that you do, or your talents and skills, your preferences for your love life. All those types of things begin to take shape and take form. What I find very interesting, though, is I remember having a conversation on this very topic with a dear friend some time ago, and what I realized is that he really started to build his identity on his financial means, right? His money. And one of the strangest and unfortunate things happened to him, where he lost his job, unfortunately. And so in that situation where he had built up so much of his identity on the fact that he was making a great amount of money, once the job or the opportunities began to wane, what I saw in him is that he started to feel more inferior even about his own self. So he's built his identity so much so up on things outside of him, money, material things, that the person inside of him began to crumble when those exterior things begin to fade. And so it's important, as you do these inventory of yourself, to really understand, are these things outside of me, or are these things that are inside of me that I can continue to nourish and develop? If they're exterior, that means that there can be exterior things that could occur to that something or that thing that you're building your identity on, that can cause you to crumble and lose yourself on the inside.
Yeah, that's good. I think to further that point, I know we're talking about mastering me, but to your point of the externals, and I know we're talking about not allowing those things to enslave you, but you can also leverage that while you're doing your homework with your introspection, right? In other words, I know that I think you did too, husband, reach out to those who are close to you to get feedback on, things that may be triggering for them. Maybe it's a good thing, a bad thing, or hey, you do this well, I'd love to learn about this, right? That kind of gives you great insight too from an outside perspective. Not to say that you have to consume it, but hey, it gives you some type of perspective, right?
Right.
Especially if you see a common thread coming from different people that may not even have a connection together.
Absolutely. It's one thing how I see myself, right? And how I think I see myself, versus how I'm presenting myself to others and how they see me.
Right.
Especially those that know me. And those that are closer to me,
right?
And if they can give me that candid candor,
right,
it will certainly
yes.
not be afraid. That's the key part, and not be afraid to to break me or to injure any fragility that I may have or holding tight to on the inside.
Right.
But it's important to get that candid feedback.
Absolutely,
that is a phenomenal exercise.
And
I think I benefited greatly from it.
Yeah. And wait, did you say who benefited?
I did.
Oh, you did? Yeah. I did too.
Awesome.
But it made me think also of in corporate America how you have 360 DISC and all these other assessments as well,
right? That
can assist in this as well, right? From different perspectives, like how you behave or how you lead, is different things that you can learn to perform this. But another quote I'd like to throw in as we go into our second point is, mastering others is strength. However, mastering yourself is true power. So when we talk about having that power, we just, navigated from the first step of introspection, right? And after we progress past that and we've identified at least enough to know more about ourselves and say, whoa, okay, I do get angry when so and so happens, or calling out those hard things, those heavy things that you probably tried to ignore all along. But then you go to the next phase of proclamation, right? So now that you've identified who you are, what you are, how you tick, now it's to say, okay, let me stand in that. This is true. This is me. I may not like it, but now I know, right? So let me say, this is me. Right?
I'm with you. I'm walking with you. That's so really understanding the power and being more sure of and knowing of who you are, right? So you've done the homework, you've done the introspection. Now it's the proclamation and standing on your square of who it is that you are.
Right.
And I think that's a key part, right? So you've done all the homework, you've done an inventory of yourself, and then you may even find that, you know what, there are bits and pieces that I will leave there on that list that I created, and some that I'm going to take back and still keep in my life, right? So it's important to know maybe some of these things I need to continue to carry forward, and some of them did not bring out the best of me. Matter of fact, they were just some habits, behaviors, or part of my identity that I choose to leave in the past, and that's important as well. Getting to the you that you are and building on that, certainly important. So what are the things that we do or you do, I would ask you, Dr. Jutan, to reinforce your proclamation of your identity, who you are, and what you're about? I know we have those 5 F's that we stand firmly on, but what are some of the exercises and things that you do that reinforces your core sense of being in terms of the proclamation?
That reminds me, my response is going to align with this reminder, but your question reminds me of something that I saw on the Becoming documentary with Michelle Obama, where I think she was interviewing some young girls, and one of the girls was asking the question of how do you maintain yourself or your identity after having become the first lady? Like, how did you continue to be yourself, be Michelle, as you go into that? And her response was along the lines of, it's no going back, right? There's no going back. I had way more years of my life than I did in the White House, but that time in the White House completely changed me. And so after that experience, I had to become a new person or find a new track. And I think that's the approach that I take throughout life, is not first becoming aware of who I am, but not getting stuck in who I was if it's not in alignment with where I'm going. Right? Mm-hmm. And so I ensure that I have some type of reassessment, I'll say, for the lack of better words, as I continue to grow and progress and learn things about myself and about just life in general, right? What do I need to do, whether it's to stay on the same track and turn right or left, or to get on a completely different track? But I definitely make sure that I remain engaged in what my true self is. And for me, that creates a level of confidence as well, so that I don't feel like whatever decision it is that I make is going to, be swayed by someone else. And so I think it's important to have that level of confidence, but the confidence come again from you doing that introspection and then proclaiming where you are.
That's it. You just can't say I'm confident and then all of a sudden you become confident.
Right.
There's something has to be behind that.
Exactly.
That it bolsters that confidence that you're building on. So I got it. I really like that Michelle Obama analogy, because it's not like she left herself in the past, is that she transformed herself through the process. So everything that she was before coming into the White House was the best person she was in that moment, and it was the person she needed to be to get into the White House. Yeah. Right? So she had everything in her character and her identity that put her in a position to be in the White House. But going to the White House was a different experience. And that gave her everything she needed to be prepared for life after. Right. So I guess the point I'm making is everything that you are in your identity in one phase of your life is the very thing you need to take you to that next phase.
Mm-hmm.
Although in that next phase is going to be a different experience.
Right.
It may alter and change and tweak or reinforce parts of your identity, but it's certainly the right ingredients and what you needed for that next phase.
You got it.
Proclaim it.
There you go.
But put the work in it.
Oh, yes. The workout has to come.
Yeah.
And it has to be consistent. You know, like I said, for various phases of life and different experiences, it may require a different part of you. It may require a part of you that in your proclamation you left behind and said, you know what, I don't want to receive that right now, or I don't really think that's me right now. But you get to a certain stage in your life later and realize, wait, I need to reach back and pull that. Like I used to go, you know, I used to get really amped up about a certain thing, and I'm like, oh, you know, I need to mellow out on that thing. But then later down the line in life, you come across this experience that requires you to get amped up in order to succeed and achieve it. So now you're having to reach back and say, you know what, that thing that I thought I didn't need and that I did not want to, right,
okay.
that I didn't want to attach myself to, I actually, you know what, come on back to.
It was some power in that.
Right.
I need that. I keep that where it's at.
So I think it's a part of discernment as well. So not necessarily letting go of some of those things that you identify or learn about yourself, but knowing when those things need to be extracted and leveraged and used in your life. So it could be that, you know, that thing that you kind of pack away. I don't need this every day, but I know I got it in me to pull out should I need.
That's it. So it's all, those are two key steps. Not a full exhaustive list. However, there are certainly key steps for really mastering you or mastering me. 3 steps, right? So the next one, the third one, right, is one we have coming up.
Yes.
But those first 2, right? Okay, just
yes.
keep me on track. So the number 3, what would you say for a third one?
So number 3, I'll open up with a little quickie, I guess, quote again, and that is, knowing others is wisdom, but knowing yourself is enlightenment. And so as we've talked about introspect and proclamation, right, now we're going to go into innovation. So we have introspection, proclamation, and now innovation. So we've talked about identifying those things about you, learning about you. Then we talked about standing in that thing and calling it out for what it is. And then now we're going to say, okay, what do we need to innovate? I've learned these things about me. I've accepted those things about me. However, this direction that I'm going into requires me to be more confident, requires me to be more spontaneous, requires me to be more verbal. Things that I didn't identify historically as I was doing my introspection, right? So these are some things that now I have to innovate. So how do I go about developing these characteristics so that I can be better for myself later to achieve those things that I want to achieve?
That's right. So it is, once you've done the introspection and you became clear on who you are, then you've submitted yourself in your proclamation stage of who you are. Now you're firm. Then it is, okay, where am I going? Who should I be? Or what do I need to become for where I'm trying to go?
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's really it. Because we're always becoming something.
Yeah.
And that's the question. Now, if I've stripped away everything and I'm very clear on what I am, and I proclaimed, and I know that what I am is strong, is firm, it's not built on external things, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's okay, but if I'm going to the hilltop, which is my true north, I know that the person that I must become has some more other skills or attributes or parts of the identity that needs to be enhanced or developed. Right?
Yeah. Because
the seed is there, right? It's just you may not have necessarily developed that seed or nourished it or watered it, right? So anything that you feel that you may be weak in or that you may not be ill-equipped to take on, just know that the seed, even the fact that you have the mere thought to assess it and recognize it and know that it's there, that's evident that the seed is there. Now the question is, what do I do to innovate or to help develop and germinate that seed so that it can truly blossom and become what it needs to be, to strengthen your identity.
That's good.
Right? And that's the work, right? That's, I guess all of it is the work. I just can't say one stage or another is the work, but certainly once you're clear, now it's time to take action to say, I need to master me. And by mastery, meaning that I know what moves me left, I know what moves me right. I know what brings me up, I know what brings me down. When I'm confronted with an opposition or a problem or a challenge, which is where, believe it or not, I'm sure you believe it, which is where we most of us find our challenges within ourselves. It makes us uncomfortable at times when we're confronted with some opposing obstacle or personality or person or whomever we're engaging or people. That's when we're really, it really tests it will test, it's testing our identity, our character, our sense of being.
Yeah.
And that's really those opportunities, again, to help yourself flourish, develop, and show.
Love it. Love it. So we have given you 3 main steps, and as we kind of discussed each of those, we gave you a lot of recommendation, tactics, examples of how to implement this as you're going about mastering you. And again, it was introspection, proclamation, and then finally innovation. And those are, some quick hit, easy to remember words that we wanted to throw out that will help you as you progress towards getting more in alignment with yourself. And of course, we love to have our quick dose of Dorsey too that aligns.
Yeah, certainly do. We'll talk about the alignment part, but
okay.
We'll talk about that. But truly re-emphasizing your points, I think is key. And again, stressing the fact that if you're not mastering you, then the question is, someone is, who's mastering you? Someone else is. Somewhere there is some control that's driving you, is drifting you. Yeah, one way or another. And the question, if you're not in full control and not aware, right, then trust me, something or someone else truly is in the driver's seat. Right? Those are the Dorseys.
Hit me.
So it was a I guess more or less a post I noticed and I saw, and I really I thought it was pretty enlightening.
Okay.
It's talked about the 6 ethics of life, and one of the things it says is, before you pray, believe. Before you speak, listen. Before you spend, earn. Before you write, think. Before you quit, try. And before you die, live. These are things that as you get into defining your identity and mastering yourself, these are certainly tools and nuggets you can put into your back pocket in your repertoire and keep it in mind as you begin to forge forward in life. Mastering yourself, but certainly understand the power that you hold. Loving yourself, loving others, keep moving forward with a brilliant life. Close out, Queen.
Yeah. Let me just close this thing on out because he brought it down for us. So thank you all for joining us yet again for another episode. This has been a discussion about mastering me or mastering you. In an avoidance of someone else enslaving you, right? So I hope you took to heart all these tips and tricks and tactics that we've shared. So much to heart that you just want to follow us and, be the first to learn about our next episodes that are coming out. So please connect with us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook at Dem Darn Dorseys and at Date with the Dorseys, respectively. You can also email us at support@fortuneenterprise.com. And remember, Fortune is spelled IVTUNE, enterprise.com. This has been a good one. I enjoyed this one. So with that being said, make sure that you connect with us, download, like, share, love, all that good stuff. And we will be back for the next episode before you know it. Bye for now.
Bye.
Develop a fortune state of mind. Time for a date with Time for a date with the Dorseys.